Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm Roana Habwe, and you might have noticed we've been off air, but we've come back with a revamped edition of Business Today. We have a lot in store, and I promise you, as the show goes on, we'll be seeing more. We have a lot in store, and we have a segment with 4 key ideal topics, beginning with corporate news, then product profile, CEO's insight, and then, of course, the trending today segment. Beginning with corporate news and what we have that is corporate or in regards to company news, let's kickstart with the UN Women signing an MOU with Stanbic Bank to help over 1,000 female entrepreneurs. Now, UN Women, together with a one financial giant, have signed a 3-year partnership to, among others, build the capacity of female entrepreneurs in financial and business management. Of course, this is in a bid to enhance value chain marketing and access to cross-border markets. The partnership will come along with $15 million, initially aiming at contributing to efforts or remove the critical barriers such as difficulty in accessing affordable credit. According to Paulina Chiwangua, the UN country representative, the MOU will benefit more than 1,000 women, like I earlier mentioned. Take a look.
UN Women, together with a one financial giant, have signed a 3-year partnership to, among others, build the capacity of female entrepreneurs in financial and business management, value chain marketing, and access to cross-border markets. The partnership will come along with $15 million initially, aiming at contributing to efforts to remove critical barriers such as difficulty in accessing affordable credit. According to Dr. Pauline Chiwangu, the UN Women country representative, the Memorandum of Understanding will benefit more than 100,000 women entrepreneurs in the country.
Our collective efforts to create a more inclusive society where women are supported to thrive and be empowered. So thank you for being here for that. As UN Women, you know we are working with the government, MDAs, with local governments, civil society organizations, private sector, academia, philanthropy, and communities to advance gender-responsive policies, eliminate violence against women and girls.
And I'm also happy to report that we've also, through the training, we've helped them to raise their own savings. The women under this program are sitting on 15.5 billion of their own savings. Can you imagine? This is real empowerment. We know if you educate and empower the mother in a home, you have lifted that home, right? Whether it's health, whether it's education, social standing, you have lifted that home. And the people in this room, and anybody else will attest, that where the mother drives, that the family will follow. So we are touching the heart of our nation and the heart of our society. And we're quite pleased.
The financial giants promised to explore several possibilities under financial inclusion and access to banking services to make the funds for women groups through their various village circles safe. However, when it comes to loans specifically, lack of collateral is a big barrier for women to access loans from formal financial institutions. This is partly due to the former Ugandan succession laws, which up to date prohibits women from inheriting assets from their parents and deceased spouses. According to the bankers, this partnership will not look at collateral.
We have come up with creative ways of lending to women without necessarily taking collateral. We recognize that this has been one of the things that has held them back. And so we'll be looking at their level of transactability as a key driver, and amongst other measures that we'll be looking at. But transactability with the bank is a critical element that will then inform to what extent do we lend to them. And obviously, you start with a small amount, but progressively, as you build your credibility and the scale of your operation, we will then grant you a larger facility. So for now, we're saying we have found ways of working without necessarily calling for collateral, but we'll rely heavily on the level of transactability with us.
In Uganda, the gender gap in financial inclusion is rarely noticeable. In contrast to men, women are less likely to be explicitly included. Bedson Mumbere, Smart 24 TV.
Now more in corporate news or stroke company news. The world's attention is firmly on the geopolitics of the energy transition, with nations worldwide striving to reduce the carbon footprint and embrace, cleaner and sustainable energy sources. CSOs, and in this regard, we're looking at Siatini Uganda, have called for the need of Uganda to interrogate its role in global energy transition, as well as its actions on energy transition. We have more of this story. The world's attention is firmly on the geopolitics of the energy transition, with nations worldwide striving to reduce their carbon footprint and embrace cleaner, sustainable energy sources. But has Uganda been actively shaping its own energy transition policy?
Through that comprehensive situation analysis, which was completed about June this year, we started working on an energy transition plan, which will emphasize a low carbon pathway and, of course, a low-cost energy development plan for this country that will take care of all the mixes, the resources that will grow our energy mix as a country. This particular energy transition plan, which is a country document, the way you would have the NDC, will be first launched at the Renewable Energy Conference in November this year, but then also launched at COP 28, which all of us should be participating in. The whole essence of this energy transition plan is to make sure that we get collective action, subsidiarity, but also spillover of opportunities that.
Ahmed Haji from the Center for Policy and Strategic Studies emphasizes the importance of ensuring that the energy transition leaves no one behind, drawing comparisons to countries like China that have been criticized for selfish mineral exploitation.
An electric car, it uses close to about 50 minerals, and most of these minerals are rare earth elements or critical minerals. And China is ahead of them. Why they fear China? Because in 2010, China had a dispute with Japan, and it denied Mitsubishi some critical minerals for them to have their cars on the market. And no one wants to really have the same again, because the whole U.S. Army is under pressure, because they will need the military applications. They will need the armory. But those minerals that will make these things are in Africa. That's what he was calling the stranded assets. And they will tell you don't have capacity, you don't have technical expertise, you don't have the infrastructure. They will tell you, for example, the whole East African mining bill is there hanging. Countries cannot agree. And it's a deliberate strategy for us not to have that mining law because it will actually set a pace for country-level legislation, where we as civil society influencing that at that level. But because people are happy to work in a vacuum without any law, it works for them. So for me, there are geopolitical dynamics to these issues.
Along the same lines, Siatini Uganda emphasizes the significance of adopting an Afrocentric perspective in our approach to the energy transition, as it is absolutely imperative to strive for a transition that is fair and inclusive. This means making a firm commitment to climate action, shaping policies to reflect commitment, and ensuring access to critical infrastructure information for all stakeholders. By doing so, there is a move towards sustainable energy future that benefits all.
Talking about the energy transition, but we also have issues with our structural transformation. Over the years, over the last decade, 2 or 3 decades, we've struggled with the challenge of how we are integrated in the global economy. We have continued to supply raw materials. It's not that we don't have policies. We have the policies, but some of them are not even being implemented. There are a number of policies at different levels. As they just concluded Africa Climate Summit, a number of financial commitments were made. However, those are commitments. It's not that money was, delivered. How do we move from such commitments to see climate action unfold? Because it's a matter of urgency. It's not something that we can postpone, that we will do tomorrow. But collectively, as we are gathered here as stakeholders, especially given that we have government representation, I think we can use the much needed proposals to shape the policies, even at national level, because we have the national determined contribution at the national level that we have to implement. How are we faring as a country, as Uganda, So that discussion is what Mr. Ferdinand Tunye tried to allude to, although he shared perspectives from Ghana and Africa at large, but still the same applies, because as Africa, we struggle with the same challenges. 600 million people in Africa don't have access to electricity. And in Uganda, in 2020, Electricity Regulatory Authority revealed that 1.7 million people don't have access to electricity. They are not connected on the national grid.
In shaping our position as Africa, but specifically as Uganda in the just energy transition. And why this is very key is because we know overall there's been a discussion around transition from what to where, mainly regarding from us moving from fossil fuels to renewable energy sources. And we know that the discussion is taking shape in how Africa is able to transit, but we need to also see to it that we harmonize our voice first, especially for Africa, because we know we have our critical position already. We have vast major critical minerals right now that are already being extracted, and some of these issues come from how best are we able to utilize our critical minerals to foster our move to the just energy transition, and seeing to it that also we can be able to shape an Afrocentric inclusive and equitable just transition by capturing mainly the voices from also the communities, the indigenous communities that are going to be impacted, already have changed so many lives, basing off on those areas that have had heavily mineral extraction, but also seeing to it that the livelihoods of those people are actually changed and instead advanced. So we are looking at mainly seeing to it that we have coherence in our policies, mainly around mineral and energy policies, but seeing to it also that we foster a regional discussion around it, to see to it that we speak with one unified voice in how best we can position ourselves, but also see to it that trade, investment, and fiscal related issues are not heavily skewed to powers that are bigger than us in Africa, but to see to it that we are also positioning ourselves to take advantage.
Among the key topics discussed during the conversation was the suggestion of implementing a charcoal tax. The proposal stemmed from the urgent need to combat deforestation and reduce biomass emissions, which have significant environmental implications. However, it is worth noting that at this time, authorities are not actively pursuing this option. Meanwhile, there was also an update on government's progress in climate financing, indicating strides towards addressing environmental concerns.
Whatever you do, think about these actions, and then the energy transition, the just transition will definitely come at the forefront, because we are looking at economic development, we are looking at industrialization, we are looking at the kind of energy that we want to use. And the debate is, we transit, yes, but is it possible, and how are we going to do it? And this is why we have all these plans and strategies in place to make sure that we transit.
Now, in our segment of what's trending today, we all know that at the fall of every month, we receive statistics from the Uganda Bureau of Statistics on how the economy is faring. This is what we were able to gather last week as of the month of September. And the monthly headline inflation has increased by 0.7% from the registered 0.6% in August 2023. This was driven by monthly core inflation that rose by 0.3% and 0.2% in August 2023. Statisticians have therefore advised Ugandans to spend appropriately because inflation erodes people's spending power.
The monthly headline inflation has increased by 0.7%, up from 0.6% registered in August 2023. This was driven by monthly core inflation that rose by 0.3%, up from 0.2% of August 2023. Statisticians have therefore advised Ugandans to spend appropriately because inflation erodes people's spending power.
What should we think? What should we take it to? I think there are two scenarios here. When we say the headline inflation is registered at 2.7, it is an inflation. Prices are high. It means that. When you look at the monthly picture, in addition to a 0.6 that we registered, that was an increase in the prices in August. Again, the prices have increased on top of the 0.6 by 0.7. What does it mean? The prices are still high. What does it mean? You must rationalize. As an individual, you must rationalize. Because when we present you the basket, there are so many items. You find that some of them, the inflation has reduced, implying that prices are a bit relaxed. Some of the items, the inflation has gone up. So what does it mean? It is upon the individual to know where you have to spend, but just know that inflation erodes your spending power. So spend appropriately in areas that you require to spend. That is what I would say.
However, the annual headline inflation for the year ending September 2023 slowed by 2.7% compared to a 3.5% decrease of August 2023, and the annual core inflation as well slowed down to 2.4 compared to 3.3 slow for August 2023. Aliziki Kaudalwiga, Director Macroeconomic Statistics at Uganda Bureau of Statistics, explains why annual headline inflation has slowed down against the monthly headline inflation.
The reason why we show you that these are price levels, because we are trying to tell you that we are comparing prices which were already high to these which are slightly either coming down or slightly increasing. So they show as if, there is that deceleration within the rate of inflation. However, whether it is a 2.7, it is inflation, so prices are high. That is I've really tried to explain to make sure that at least we pick it from that point. So it is still an increase in the prices, but the rate at which it is increasing on an annual basis compared to the monthly basis, the one is higher compared to the other. That is why the annual headline inflation decelerated, it slowed down. And yet, when you look at the headline inflation for the month, in addition to the increase that we registered, that is a 0.6%, we again registered another increase in the prices of 0.7%.
The highest inflation as measured by Consumer Price Index was recorded in Fort Portal at 5.1% for the 12 months to September 2023, up from 6.0% recorded in August 2023. Kampala High registered the least at 2.0% for the 12 months to September 2023, compared to 2.5% recorded in August 2023. Bedson Mumbere, Smart 24 TV.
Well, there you have it, the first two segments of our new edition of Business Today. Maybe to just give you a recap of what we started with. We started with UN Women and Stanbic Bank signing an MOU in regards to helping 1,000 female entrepreneurs. Of course, we know what that means. We have seen the same in regards to women entrepreneurship, the same unveiling from PSFU and other entities that are supporting women. We kicked it off with Uganda's role in energy transition and what the global energy discourse is. We had an insight from CSOs, that is Siatin Uganda, and then also government as well, Ministry of Energy, as well as Ministry of Finance, deliberating on how best Uganda can emancipate or emancipate its role in energy transition. Now we move to product profile, but before we do that, let's get a quick break. We will return from here. Stay tuned.
Smart 24, driving business.
Cooking oil like no other makes your meal so sweet and scrumptious. The taste of Uganda, yeah, the taste of Uganda, the taste.
Smart 24, driving business.
Thank you so much for joining us. And if you just joined us right now, I'm Rana Habwe, and you're in for Business Today, and you're in for the second segment. We look at a product profile today. In a groundbreaking move, Tembo Steels Limited has unveiled their latest steel innovation, Tembo Pure TMX, which promises to be a game changer in sustainability. This advancement not only signifies a giant leap towards a greener future, but also holds the potential to slash carbon emissions by 70%. The ministers who are at this launch, ministers of trade, ministers of finance and investment, also emphasize the need for an imperative nature of import substitution in light of other critical priorities. Presently, the steel import bill stands at a substantial amount of $976 million, but with these innovations in place, leading where the trajectory of steel industry in our country is poised for an exciting and environmentally conscious transformation. We have details.
The increasing preference for taller and more robust structures, boosting a remarkable earthquake resistance, has led Tembo Steels to introduce the Tembo TMX 500 and the 550 CWTMT rebars. These are designed to be suitable for application in all quake-associated zones, setting them apart with their innovative sponge technology in stark contrast to conventional iron bars produced from imported steel. This move by Tembo Steels aligns perfectly with President's vision of enhancing value by utilizing our domestically sourced iron ore, particularly from Kabale district.
Connection is not only the goal. By providing you unique features with launching this product, and we want you to walk out this door where you're able to build a strong and sustainable relationship with Tembo and with us. Tembo, as our Tembo TMX, we are launching, we say, creating a future that's strong and secure.
It is a high strength bar along with high ductility, which is having elongation of more than 17%. And it has good bend and rebend qualities, can withstand pressure. That's why it is recommended in today's world to use high strength bars. In case of 500 grade can always reduce congestion of bar, which you are talking about. Suppose in a diameter of say 1 meter, suppose you are using 450 grade or 460 grade, you can use the number of bars say 60. In 500 grade or 550 grade, the number of bar will get reduced to 45. So it's a drastic reduction between the bars, because you have more strength, so you need not to go for the congestion.
Privileged to have welcomed ministers from trade, industry and investment sectors, with their presence signifying their appreciation of the steel manufacturing company's role in reducing Uganda's $976 million steel import bill, they commended their efforts in introducing cost-effective iron bars with earthquake-resistant qualities, a move aimed at fostering growth within Uganda's construction and promoting regional trade.
The architect speaking, asking the questions to you, I only was thinking in my mind that we will be able to build houses that can withstand the shocks of earthquakes. Did you guys know that we have a challenge that all the buildings that we have here cannot withstand earthquakes? All of them in Uganda cannot withstand the earthquake that hit Turkey. That if it hits us here, all the buildings will collapse. There will be zero that will remain standing with that magnitude of earthquake. Now, with the introduction of the steel like this, the engineers, the architects, we are very sure that with TMX will be able to build buildings that can withstand any storm that will hit our country.
It's going to be produced using sponge steel, while others are using imported billets. Isn't that so? I think that makes a huge difference that we are using our own raw materials to produce this, while other people in the sector are going to be using imported. So we want to congratulate you. This is in line with the President's vision of import substitution and export promotion. And we thank you so much. I have been having a quarrel with the chairman and his team. A few people continue to hear about Tembo Steel of their products. So we want to congratulate you. A company that just started 20 years ago, as we speak now, is over $300 million. And it started here in Uganda by Ugandans. So we want to thank you so much. We want to thank the High Commissioner, Internal Commissioner, for emphasizing that the business people want to go to India will continue to go there without paying for visa fees. So we want to thank you about that one.
Deo Kayemba, representing the Ugandan manufacturers, urged government to provide support by aligning policies and incorporating incentives to promote the expansion of the steel industry. In response, Honorable Bahati pledged to collaborate with other pertinent authorities to ensure a commitment to favoring these investors who are actively contributing to reducing the need for imports.
My prayer is, and the Honorable Bahati has hinted it, once you can do something, even if you can do 60% of it, trigger a mechanism that can protect us, that can increase capacity, that can purify quality, which is much talked up, that can get the local population consumed, that can get this product into the export market, so that this country can continue growing. I'll be very happy, and I'm very happy that recently when we had a meeting with you, Honorable Anite, you stamped the duty on wire roads. And I have been discussing with Mr. Sanjay that the government has given you this, run with it, while your friends are coming in line, so that we put this aside now and move on to the next project and the next one.
US dollars of steel products. So every company that's involved in this steel must be supported, because this is what we want to repress. It means that actually we are exporting jobs, we are exporting taxes. I have had a number of meetings with you, including other companies in steel, and you have assured me, the chairman of the manufacturers is here, that the issue of quality has been resolved, and we continue to support you in that direction. Now, that is only Uganda, 976. East Africa is more than 3 billion. So think about Africa. You know, we are moving from Bubu to Baba. We are now moving from Bubu to Baba. Buy Africa, build Africa. So you imagine, from 3 billion, the whole of the continent is even more than, I think, 20 billion in steel imports. So the huge market you have and the capacity you are building, what we are showing you is the support.
During the launch event, Honorable Francis Mwewesa, the chief guest, advocated for import substitution as a means to preserve foreign exchange. He also issued a challenge to Tembo Steels, emphasizing the importance of maintaining high-quality standards for their wire products. This, he noted, would serve as a legitimate example, supporting downstream industries and fostering their growth.
An amount of wire rod which is being allowed to be imported here is because you have to improve on the quality of your wire rod. And I'm making this remark that you must continue so that you cover the whole spectrum of making wire rod. In other words, that we can be using our own wire rod for making the fencing material. It has been a complaint because it needs to have a standard. You very well know what I'm talking about. It means matters of quality in order that supply the nation, the national development plan and everything, it should be that.
Coming up next is a CEO's Insight, a pre-recorded exclusive interview I recorded with Tembo Steel's chairman, offering unique insights into their company's strategies and upcoming ventures. Now, in case you must have not gotten what you needed with the previous report, this is the right piece of information you need to know about Tembo Steels and what they have just unveiled, the Tembo TMX brand. Take a look. Hello and welcome to yet again another episode of Business Today. Thank you so much for having joined us, especially for this episode of the CEO's Insight, where we talk about the product profile. And now, Tembo Steel has just launched the TMX/TMT rebar, the very first of its kind, and differently locally manufactured here in Uganda using the raw materials from Kabale. There is so much to understand, especially for the Ugandan context, what are TMX rebars or what are TMT bars, for instance. We really need to know so much about it. Now with me is Mr. Sanjay, the chairman of Tembo Steel himself, who's going to give us a broader perspective on what Tembo Steel is and what these products that have just entered the market really entails for them and for the Ugandan market. Thank you for joining us and say hello.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So what are these TMX and TMT bars? How are they different from what we have already on the market, especially from Tembo Steel?
You see, the TMT, TMX, which is available right now currently in the Ugandan market, they are coming from the scrap route, and there are some which are coming from the billet route, the imported billet route. The unique thing about Tembo TMX is it is coming from the primary route. And I can tell you that the Tembo Steel is the only company in Uganda who is operating right from primary steel making. The steel comes from iron ore, Kabale. So it is basically, if you can say that it is free from tramp element. Tramp element generally do not serve useful purposes in a steel. So the steel is free from tramp elements, steel is free from residual elements. These elements do deter the quality of TMT. So in our case, the unique difference between us and others is our TMT comes from rock, which is a virgin metallic. And for others, it is coming with a contaminated steel. Suppose you are buying the scrap and you are melting it. There are so many tramp elements, there are so many residual elements which you cannot avoid in a scrap because sorting is not possible at that level. So when you get that, it becomes very, very difficult for you to get it sorted. But for us, the God has given us the virgin metallic, which is free from tramp and residual elements. That makes our steel purer and cleaner in compared to others.
Well, good. Now, from the business perspective, and of course looking at the economic scope, how economically cheaper are these new products on the market, especially for the construction and real estate industry?
The bars which are available locally in Uganda or in a region at large, we are, I think, 10 to 15% cheaper than the product which are imported or the product which you get from imported billets. Even the TMT which are sold in the construction industries, these bars are cheaper by 10 to 15%. Even the quality, as far as quality is concerned, we have clearly mentioned you and we have gone public that all the physical parameters, chemical and mechanical properties of the bar are going public, which means that is a very simple technology. A QR code is there, you just scan it and then you will get in real time the quality of rebars. And if you match the quality of these rebars anywhere around the globe, around any laboratory, anywhere in the world, you will find these bars are having much more superior properties than other rebar which are used here in Uganda.
Thank you. Now, in regards to some of your other products that you have on the market, what would I say is unique about them? What differentiates you from the likes of Steel and Tube or things in regards to quality? Because, the minister influenced something about quality and the standards that you have to meet in this industry.
You see, if you go by the propaganda, I have nothing to say on that, because I would say that this is a propaganda against us, and it is a big community which is spreading propaganda against us. Our products are no inferior than anybody else in the world. That is why this unique set of things are happening here. Why we have decided to go on public? Because now public is there and public knows everything. Now what we have done is we have made this public in a digital platform where anybody can cross-verify our properties of steel, whether they are matching with the international standard or not. So you cannot go more transparent than this, what we have done in this product. As far as other products are also concerned, there is no competitor for us because we are doing primary steel, and the majority of us, steel companies here in Uganda, they are importing the goods. Maybe sometimes semi-finished goods, sometimes finished goods. So there is a different business model altogether. So if you compare with any steel company, we are different. Our mode of operandi is different. We are a 100% boo-boo company. Whatever we do from 0 to 100%. We have never ever imported any semi-finished or finished goods in the history of Tembo Steel. By the way, the history is 22 years old. So what I say, that I mean. We are no inferior than anybody else in the market, not in Uganda, in the region or at a continental stage.
Interesting. Now, I would like us to talk about in regards to balance of trade and import substitution. The minister himself inclined about how we spent $976 million on importation of steel products, and we have market players like you, Tembo, with a big brand that is worth $300 million. What is your contribution in regards to lessening, that big sum of money that is going in regards to taxes, to jobs, that big, sum of money that is going in regards to that?
You see, it's a very, very important and critical question, and that needs to be answered as well. Okay. Because what is making us that these imports are happening at a stupendous pace. Minister was talking about, Honorable Bahati was talking about something like $976 million. That's quite large chunk of money. $1 billion of importation is happening in the real time. Why they are happening? This is a big question. Are we not having a skill, or we are not having technology, or nobody want to invest here? What is the real question behind it? The real question behind is we need to fix our policy. Once we fix our policy, this whole $1 billion could be avoided, and in turn we would be able to export good worth $1 billion. If we fix our policies in the medium to long term, we will be a net surplus country as far as import and exports are concerned.
Thank you. Well put. Now, what I get from you right now is saying that policy implementation or the policies in place are not as favorable as we may think. Yeah.
These policies are favoring importers. They are not favoring the president's agenda of 0 to 100% value addition. You see, what happens is when somebody is importing goods 90% processed or 95% processed, the policies treat them as the raw material. When it is a raw material, it does not serve any importation, because suppose, for instance, a product which you are importing is carrying 100 tons of weight. Yes. Now, then you are selling 100 tons. What kind of raw material is this? Which means that importation is happening, a small fragment of value addition is happening, and it will never fix the importation problem. The value addition has to start from 0 to 100, and if policies can be rectified, it is very much possible to do here in Uganda.
The minister also inclined something in regards to HRC.
Yeah.
Protection, I didn't understand from that. Could you give more context to it?
Yeah. You see, whatever Tembo does, it does from 0 to 100%, yes. Right from the inception, boo-boo. Yeah. As I have clearly mentioned, we have never imported anything. Yeah. And in turn, we were at the receiving end, because it is very difficult to manage when you start from 0 to 100. And when policies do not support you, then it becomes a very difficult scenario for you as a value adder, because importation, it is always cheap. When imported steel flow into the country, and then this imported steel is treated as a raw material, then it becomes a real difficulty for the people who are real manufacturers. So which means that the whole value proposition needs to be analyzed thoroughly. As far as HRC is concerned, I will give you one input. HRC, we are the only manufacturer in whole of the region, including Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda. And we started this activity in 2004. Since then, we are producing hollow sections from HRC, our own HRC. Everybody else, apart from Tembo, is importing HRC from different destinations of the world. But it is not being protected, because HRC does not contain any duty. And HRC in international market is very cheap. We cannot compete with the imported HRC because the raw material aggregate is low. Electricity prices are low. The scale is high. It makes the product cheaper. And then when you don't have any protection, how would you expect a manufacturer that can branch into that activity where there is no juice? So we were there in 2004. Since then, now it is 20 years. There is no protection on tubes. That's why we have never been able to scale this activity.
Wow, interesting. They also hinted at something of you being the biggest consumers of Uganda's electricity.
Yes, that's true. We are the number one power consumer in the country as of now.
Now, you can imagine that. And also contributing to taxes as well.
Yeah, but you see, the electricity proposition that we are consuming is a fraction of it what we can consume. because we are consuming close to 5 billion shilling in a month. That makes us number one in this country. But what is the true potential of Tembo Steel? It is, I think we can, in value term, we can go for 20 billion because the installed capacity is too much. We are operating at 20-25% installed capacity, which means that we can consume up to 20 billion shilling per month, and then of electricity, and that will make us even bigger in terms of consumption.
So what do you think could be done to, increase that consumption? Are the tariffs favorable?
We need to correct our policies. This is the straightforward answer. If we correct our policies, everything is possible.
Okay. In regards to supporting other emerging local companies that are in the industry to be as big as you, and in regards to, of course, this is inclined with your CSR, your compliance to the government, what are you doing in regards to that, apart from what I've seen with Makerere students, which I've seen myself?
See, in regard of this, I would say one thing. It does not matter whether you are very big or very small, whether you are doing the right thing or you are doing the bad thing. The right thing remains the right thing if you are doing 100% value addition, which means that you are for the job in this country, you are creating a whole lot of infrastructure which will enhance the GDP. You are here for the workers, you will consume the utilities, you will pay taxes, you will do everything which will enhance the GDP. It is the right thing to do. Now, in contra, I will suppose you are importing 90-95% fully finished material in the name of raw material, you will not be able to do anything. You will be scaling your capabilities and capacity to a very low profile, but you will earn profit for you. But you will never be yielding rich dividend to the country as large. This is a proven fact all over the world. I am not talking something which is unusual in any terminology. This is as simple as that. You produce here. Whatever you consume, you should produce. This should be the mantra. As far as
you produce, you should be able to
yes. Whatever you consume, you should produce, and you should consume what you produce. This is as simple as that, and it remains simple. But common sense is not that common. Why you are importing something which you are not able to produce, and you have to think why we are not able to produce. Why is very important. We have to come up with why. If why comes in more often, then you will find all kind of solutions.
Lastly, as we sum this conversation up that was as short and as brief but insightful as it should have been, what are your environmental aspects or practices that you do? I have seen the green around. I've also visited the plant in Iganga. It's quite interesting.
Yeah.
So what mechanisms have you put in place to ensure that you combat climate change?
You see, I would say that we had worked immensely as far as environmental compliances are concerned. And you will be proud to know this, and you will feel pride in knowing this. What effort did we put? You see, for instance, it will take some 2 minutes to explain, and you will take only 2 minutes to understand. Let me tell you that the detail of carbon emission. Worldwide, steel is considered as dirty industry. If you are doing with the primary steel, if you are doing with the secondary steel, you need not to do anything. You just a small processing is there, so no pollutant will be there. If you are talking about the basic steel, the primary steel from 0 to 100, it is considered as dirty industry worldwide. Now, how much carbon emission do steel industry emit of per ton of steel? 1 ton, if 1 ton of steel is being produced, CO2 generation is close to 2.2 tons. So which means 2.2 tons of CO2 has to be discharged into the open skies or into the atmosphere, which belongs to all, not Uganda. It belongs to the world, right? Now, out of this, if you discharge 2.2 tons, and when you discharge close to 20% of the total quantity which is discharged by the blast furnace. So which means that it is a very significant move in order to save the environment, and you are done with the environmental compliance. I will give you a small matrix. The matrix is composed of 4 things. If you put together all those 4 things in harmony, you will be able to achieve 80% carbon reduction in the value chain of steel, which starts from 0 to 100.
What you're doing here?
This is what precisely Uganda is doing. It's not Tembo Steel, it's Uganda, because it should be put on the world map, and it should be made public, because West always say that they are too much concerned about environmental concern. You need to ask them how much CO2 generation is there in their steel industry, and what is the CO2 per capita generation as far as this primary steel is concerned. It is 80% less. So the compliance rate of Tembo Steel is close to 95%. And if you go by the average, if you go for the European Union, it is coming close to, if you add the matrix of it, is around 60%. In US, it is around 70%. So in Uganda, it is around 95%. So you just compare the data, how much energy and environmental compliances Tembo Steel is doing right here in Uganda.
Interesting. I leave that for the book. Lastly, what are your last words or parting shots for
Buy Uganda.
watching and has just learned about the TMX and the TMT?
Buy Uganda, build Uganda. You purchase the product which has been originated right from Uganda. If your product is no inferior than any other product which is available anywhere in the globe, why not Ugandan product, which is your own product and it is a superior product? Just analyze, collect the data, observe the data, and then conclude the data, and then you just go and buy if it suits you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was the chairman of Tembo Steel, Mr. Sanje, who gave us an insight about Tembo Steel and, of course, a broader perspective of what they just launched today, the TMX and TMT rebars that are going to be a big force for the construction, as supposedly, or we have just seen with our eyes, they're going to be big investments for the construction industry. Thank you so much for having joined us.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time and expertise. As always, I'm Rona Nahabwe. Thank you for watching. Thank you once again for watching and tuning in on Smart 24 TV and joining us for business today. In case you just joined us, we just finished 4 segments of corporate news trending today, product profile and the CEO's insight that we just concluded. We had a story from UN Women partnering with Stanbic Bank and helping over 1,000 female entrepreneurs. State in Uganda, together with government officials from Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, as well as Ministry of Finance, deliberated on issues in regards to energy transition. And in regards to inflation, we had a report coming in from Uganda Bureau of Statistics as monthly annual headline inflation has risen by 0.7%. Product profile, we had the TMX product launch of the TMX rebars that are big rebars that are earthquake proof. Of course, in other words, if you use them to construct houses, your earthquakes won't be able, to get close to even like the same thing we saw in one of the African countries where hundreds on buildings of people people died. And we concluded it with the CEO's insight from chairman of Tembo Steels, where he gave us an insight on what Tembo Steels really is in regards to its company, projects, ventures, and the latest, innovations. Thank you so much for having joined us tonight. I'm Rona Nahabwe. See you on Wednesday.